thank you in so many ways. Small acts of kindness mean more than anything. With our support, veterans and military families can face even the most difficult challenges. Let's honor their service with ours.
Did you know that more than 80% of false alarms are related to preventable user errors, such as open windows or pets? Any motion can trigger an alarm. Thousands of police patrol hours are wasted investigating alarm reports that turn out to be false alarms. That's crime-fighting time lost. Make sure your alarm is working properly.
Hi, I'm Craig Irwin in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Trenton Irwin, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel.
Good morning. This is Tuesday, the 28th day of January, 2014. This is the Los Angeles City Council in the Grand City Hall of Los Angeles in the John Ferraro Chambers. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfeld, Bonnet, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Krikorian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Weston, Timmons, President O'Corn, Mr. President.
First order of business. Approval of the minutes. Mr. Buscaino moves. Mr. Fuentes seconds.
Next is committed to resolutions for approval.
Mr. Koretz moves, and Mr. Krikorian seconds.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday. It would now be the time for the flag salute.
Members, I'd like us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to call on Mr. Buscaino to be joined by his father. Stand shoulder to shoulder
Get over here, Dad.
on this day.
There he is. Thanks, Dad. Please join me on pledging allegiance to our flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Members, if I could direct your attention to the agenda. Madam Clerk, let's run through the agenda at this time.
Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. There are cards on both items.
Okay, so we'll hold those. And members, any specials on 1 and 2? Okay, so we hold those on the desk, right, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President.
Items 3 through 6.
Yes, items 3 through 6 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Members, any specials 3 through 6? 3 through 6. Okay, let's open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
10 ayes. Thank you very much.
And Mr. President, for items 3 and 4, the ordinances, those will be held over for 1 week unless reconsidered.
Good, and we have 2 new members, so let's revote those if we could right now. Mr. Blumfield and Mr. Cedillo are here. Should we revote that right now, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President. First, council should vote on reconsideration. This is items 3 and 4.
Open the roll on consideration. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right, now for the reconsideration.
Okay, now the items are before council for voting.
Let's open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes, so ordered. Next items.
Items 7 through 10 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
All right, let's open the roll on consideration. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. So now we vote on consideration?
Yes, now those items are before council.
Before council. Are there any specials on those?
There are cards on all 4 items. 7
All right,
through
so
11.
we'll hold all those 4 items. Members, any specials, please let us know. So, Madam Clerk, now what's before us?
Mr. President, that takes council to items called special.
Okay, and also could we have a very special school here today, and the great councilman of the 13th District, Mr. Mitchell Farrell, I want you to introduce this very special class.
Thank you,
school.
Mr. Chair. Colleagues, today we have some very special guests from Camino Nuevo Charter Academy on Temple in the Great 13th District. We have 2 senior classes. Please welcome them and give them a round of applause.
Great job.
And Camino Nuevo is also represented by Assistant Principal Marisol Pineda Conde, Chantel Frazee, Director of Student Life, Roberto Octorloni, Environmental Science Teacher, Peter Cook, Humanities Instructor and Government Teacher, Margaret Domingo, VP Human Resources, and Sarah Figueroa, Senior VP Organizational Management, and Espy Vencibi, Office Manager. Camino Nuevo opened in 2004. This will be their 10th year anniversary at that site. So congratulations, welcome students, and have a wonderful rest of your senior year. Thank you.
Very good, Mr. O'Farrell. Welcome. Thank you. I think they have the busiest soccer field in the city right there at Hoover and Temple. And also for the students at Knowledge, Hoover, right there at Hoover Street, right there comes into Temple, that was the western boundary of the original Pueblo, Los Angeles. Right there. It's a very historic site. So it's so great to have them. Let's, Madam Clerk, take up item number 1, which is called special.
Item 1, called special for cards.
Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Murphy. This is public comment on these items. Mr. Krikorian.
I'd actually like to continue item 1A for 1 week, please.
On this item, this is 1A, all right, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's till February 4th.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, hold on one moment, please. All right, we have no comment. This is continued for 1 week. We'll refill your cards if you're here. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 2, call special for cards.
Mr. Walsh, this is item 2 now. Your card is here for item 2.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. They don't show my face because I'm Jewish. They have a rule here. If you're Jewish, your face can't be seen on Channel 35. This is number 2. This concerns Hollywood Boulevard. Mr. Koretz, I live on Hollywood Boulevard. Is it okay that I speak on it? Mr. Koretz claims I have no right to speak on anything unless it's where I live. Number 2, this concerns sewer, sanitary sewer, and storm drainage easement. Again, this city does an excellent job on storm drainage. Go to other cities, particularly back east, even parts of LA County. The sewer system backs up incredibly all the time. Here, I haven't seen a backed up sewer in about a year or two. So when you do a good job, I tell you. When you do a bad job, I tell you. HollywoodHighlands.org. 1 minute.
Thank you for the comment. No other cards on this item. Madam Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 7, call special for cards.
Murphy, Sean, Murphy. Here we go, Sean.
Yes, item 7. I'm for this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Walsh, item 7.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or simply J. Walsh Confidential. My website is PG. This concerns tax equity, this is a public hearing, incidentally, for bond money for the Christ Unity Manor located at 615 South Manhattan Place. Nowhere here does it tell you why we're going to borrow money, bonds, pay it back for a group called Christ Unity Manor. I don't know. We have separation of church and state. So I don't know whether this concerns anything concerning the church. But in fact, what we have here is another huge amount of bond waste. But don't worry, they're going to put a $3 billion bond issue on the ballot in November, and just vote for it. Bonds don't harm you. Wait a second. Bonds have to be paid off. That's the priority. Whatever's left goes for police, fire, and all the other services, including sewer service. But first, the bonds must be paid off, and this is another bond issue. They're not going to talk about it because I wonder whether Christ Unity Manor has anybody over there who's made a campaign contribution to you. Minute 2, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, no other cards, no other motion. This is a good project for housing. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Oh, Mr. Krikorian, I apologize. I saw you standing. I apologize. Wait.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just thought that it was important to, again, clarify the record that when we consider TEFRA, these are not issues that add anything to the debt burden of the City of Los Angeles. They don't cost anything to the City of Los Angeles. This is something that programs that we administer in order to benefit nonprofit organizations of all kinds that are serving the people of our city. It is at zero cost and zero risk to the City of Los Angeles. So again, when members of the public come up and speak about TEFRA and claim that otherwise, it is simply not true.
Mr. Krikorian, thank you so much, and I got to get my glasses on the next time. I apologize. I had them on. He didn't see. Thank you. Okay. Next item,
Item 8, call special for cards.
Mr. Herman.
Are we okay to speak on items 8 and 9 when I see here Mr. Busquiano and his District 15 has nothing to do with CD 14? The motion by Mr. Busquiano and Cedillo relative to installing street vacation proceedings to vacate a portion of the alley in northwesterly Main Street between 9th Street and Olympic Boulevard. Again, I don't live there, and majority of us do not live there. And yes, I did get Mr. Krikorian's attention because, again, everything points back to what John Walsh and we say about these items. You don't have to live near this Main Street or Olympic Boulevard, but we have access there because we are the constituents that live in Los Angeles. We are in California, Mr. Krikorian. So, in note, the Bureau of Engineering wants to present this report regarding the feasibility of vacating the requested areas to the Public Works Committee. Again, a report regarding the feasibility. Why don't you put the amounts on the paperwork here on our agenda so that we all know what's going on in our community, right?
Please address the chair, Mr. Herman.
What is the difference of hiding this material? I'm addressing Los Angeles, all you Angelinos. Let's have transparency. And at this moment in time, I wish to hold my time, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Stay tuned for public comment when I answer Mr. Krikorian. But here on number 8, this is a vacation. Now, a vacation isn't a trip to Disneyland in Florida. A vacation means this enormously expensive property that the city owns is going to be handed over to somebody else for nothing. Now, they're vacating it for consideration under the city street vacation. It doesn't really tell us why it's being vacated, who gets, and incidentally, if you vacate it and give it to another agency, a county, the state, they should pay for it. Remember, they give away millions of dollars worth of property, and they want you to vote yes on a $3 billion street bond. Vote no. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Item 8 now is before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Next item.
Item 9, call special for cards.
Mr. Herman.
We all get it, don't we, Los Angeles? Don't we all get it? That we surrender property that we, the taxpayers, all along have been paying for. And without the transparency, the financial responsibility of this city to give it back.
Please talk about the issue, Mr. Herman.
Okay. I am talking about the issue. The issue has to do with the vacated proceedings in which municipality you want to provide this item to and give it to. What's the purpose of that? Why should the taxpayers have to lose property when we can gain from this? Not everyone here wishes just to keep paying taxes. I don't think these children here understand that. That later on, they are affected by your bad decisions, your bad management, and your little recognition to how you wish to succeed in this motion, because it's always going to be a yes. So don't forget, Los Angeles, we are paying for their mistakes. And ignorance has no...
Mr. City Attorney's advised us. You've completed your comment.
The city attorney has
Thank
no
you very much, Mr. Herman.
intervening.
Mr. Herman, I'll work with you after council to explain what a vacation is. Next speaker, Mr. Walsh. Next speaker, Wayne from Encino.
Well, here we go. You have the, it was in the recent LA Weekly and LA Times that this vacation is right around a major development area near LA Live and Staples Center. They're going to put up a lot of hotels, expensive buildings, and they're going to shove all the homeless people, they're going to vacate the homeless people with this vacation. And it continues to expand. And the funny part with this vacation, it's about 20 years too late, because in this area, which is comprised of South Park, as they call it, there was a deal on the table that was going to allow the Dodgers to build a downtown baseball stadium in the area that you now see with Staples Center, and a football stadium in Chavez Ravine. And it was completely nixed, and that's the reason the O'Malley family sold the Dodgers to the corporate interests that now own it, from Fox to two owners. So this giveaway is, we don't know who's getting this giveaway, and we don't know who's getting the campaign donations for moving this forward. That should be here right on the face of this motion, so we understand who's paying for this. So, again, this is a continual decline of the city. It's pushing out homeless people without providing housing for them, and moving in more wealthy people that eventually will lead to a bankrupt city, and you'll have another downtown Detroit, and this street will be vacant because there'll be nobody living there after the city goes broke. Vote no on this.
All right, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
15 ayes, so ordered. Next item.
Item 10 calls pleasure for cards.
Mr. Herman.
State legislative program to support a state water bond. Already, California is in a drought, and this bond would only impact Los Angeles, its taxpayers, and all you constituents. No more to say.
Wayne from Encino.
If you want to reference item 10, the 1972 movie Chinatown is an excellent resource to watch. It was, in fact, part of it was filmed right here in this room. The city council meeting from the 1920s and the 1930s was filmed in these chambers in that movie. Now, in that movie, 100 years ago, which the Mulholland Project is celebrating this year, we had a desert, and we needed to get water into the city of Los Angeles by stealing it from other people. Here we are 100 years later, we're in a drought, overbuilding, too much population, and the city council wants to support a bond measure, a water bond. This water bond is going to cost $100 billion, at least. And what it does is you build these large tunnels to bring the water north to south. The problem is, where is this water going to come from? And what happened in Van Nuys in the Valley, we had a ground aquifer where you take the water from the ground, you pump the water out, and you deliver it to your constituents. Because of the polluters, they completely polluted the groundwater underneath this entire city, comprising 417 square miles. So now we've polluted our groundwater aquifer, Now we have to spend $100 billion to bring water and steal it from the farmers and everybody up north. The first thing we need to do is start finding out ways to buy water and not build these stupid projects without first purchasing the water on long-term contracts. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood, Highland, HIGHLANDS.org, or just go to J. Walsh Confidential. This will be on the November ballot. We see a division here. The people down here, the politicians down here say, oh, we have to build it because it's politically correct. The politicians in Northern California, who are just as politically correct and just as democratic, say it's stealing water from the north. I talk to everybody who lives north of Bakersfield. This water is being stolen. And what is it being stolen for? For whom is it being stolen? Not for you, not for me, but for big agriculture. The mom and pop farm is dead. And those big agricultural people who will get the water from the tunnels, who are supporting Brown's campaign, these are the same people, the same racists who exploited minorities, La Huelga. We're talking about the same people that Cesar Chavez fought against. And now we're going to have two gigantic tunnels. And incidentally, if you look at the times when they surveyed all of the reservoirs, LA's reservoirs have 3 times as much water as Northern California. So what are we going to do? We're going to steal the water. That's what they want to do. And that's why, and it'll be billions of dollars, and incidentally, you will pay it off by how? They're going to cut education. The state of California was #1 per pupil in 1960, #1. Now it's number 39 per pupil. Vote for this agricultural water bill, and it'll be down to number 50. But don't worry, these trained seals up here are going to vote for it. But thank God for the left wing in L.A.
All right, that completes the comments. And we want to call on Mr. Koretz, Mr. Paul Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I appreciate the speed at which we've moved on this one, and particularly want to thank our Energy and Environment Chair, Mr. Fuentes, for his assistance on that. The water bonds are in discussion in Sacramento, and we need the city's strong voice in the conversation in a timely manner. Also, the port has asked for a tiny amendment, and so I'd like to verbally amend paragraph number 6 to add a couple of words, so it reads as follows. Whereas a bond should also contain funding for environmental remediation from industrial uses that contaminate recreational, commercial waterways and associated sediments at the Port of Los Angeles and other ports statewide. The addition of associated sediments would be the amendment that the port requested. Also, since there's so many moving parts, I'd also like to give direction to ask the CLA to report back on the legislation as it progresses, because we won't know exactly what's in the legislation, no doubt, because there are so many things that are being discussed. So with that, I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. And Mr. Fuentes.
And I'm happy to support the amendment with a small caveat. Today, colleagues, I introduce a measure that actually tries to discern between the different measures that are up there. And with all due respect to Mr. Koretz, colleagues, I think some of us who are more recently arrived from Sacramento have had a real sense as to what the conversation in Sacramento is with respect to both of these measures. AB 848 is agendized to be heard in the Natural Resources Committee in the State Senate on February 11th, which is important, but unfortunately is a very Delta-centric perspective on what California needs, and specifically Los Angeles. Mr. Rendon's measure, which is AB 1331, is really much more with what Los Angeles and Southern California needs. So I'm happy to support that amendment, Mr. Koretz, provided that we go ahead and work with the measure that we introduced today and have these different measures be presented in committee so that we can really ferret out the issues that we need to be advocating for. I think as guiding principles, we owe Mr. Koretz a debt of gratitude. We should really value all the things that were in that measure, but I think we really need to add a tremendous amount of specificity as these measures get to committee. And having recently served there with my colleagues, the devil really is in the details. And the question whether it goes or not this year will be a real big question, but I think we really need to be at the table. So thank you, Mr. Koretz, for introducing this, and I'm happy to second the motion so long as AB 1331 and 848 are sort of followed in energy and environment.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, we're okay on that, Madam Clerk, with the amendment?
Yes, Mr. President.
Great. No other speakers on the queue? Open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Forthwith on that matter, forthwith. Madam Clerk, now what's before us?
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment.
Public comment, David Hoffman. Is there a David Hoffman here?
Hello. I'd like to recommend to the City Council to introduce and pass a resolution on reinstating the Glass-Steagall banking law, telling Congress to get it passed. There's 4 bills in the Congress now. Elizabeth Warren's got one with 10 co-sponsors. John Tierney from Massachusetts wrote an identical bill in the House, and there's Marcy Kaptur's 129 with 80 co-sponsors. And Taram Harkins in the Senate's got another bill. There's 26 states, California including, has got a resolution, ACR 73, by Roger Hernandez and Alan Mansour, to the Glass-Steagall is important because we could end the bailouts and stop the budget cuts and prevent something to happen to L.A. that happened to Detroit, where the city workers lost their pensions. They had to pay up on these interest rate swaps in this rigged LIBOR market. So anyhow, I'd like you to take that into your consideration, and thank you.
Rafael Flores.
Morning. My name is Rafael Flores, and I'm an author. Not just a regular book, but a book on the history. And today, I come here after 20 years or 30 years it was that I came here because of the thing of Ruben Salazar, who used to work for the LA Times now. But one thing I want to go over and stress is that we're in a problem right now that affects every one of us. And this problem right here deals with the question of whether we have the finances to go over and support this country. But the main issue underlining this right here is the issue that are we to survive as a nation? Are we united? Yes or no? I'm talking about the Glass-Steagall Act that was enacted by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was elected 4 times. And there was also another person that I give credit to, World War II veteran, my friend Edward Ribald. So I'm just not coming from anywhere. I've been involved in quite a few things. But this one right here I'm talking about, we all have to be united. And it's just not the question of my race, being a Mexican-American, but all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Vanessa May. Vanessa May.
Good morning, council members. I'm from Lakeview Terrace. I would like to personally and publicly thank you for helping the LBT branch get security cameras. They were one of the branches that were chosen for fiscal year 13-14. And I also wanted to make a plea to Councilmember Fuentes to bring in some security lights to make the effectiveness of the cameras even better. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stephanie Gonzalez.
Good morning, council members. I'm Stephanie Gonzalez, and I live in Lakeview Terrace, and I want to publicly and personally thank the city for choosing Lakeview Terrace Library as one of the branches to be installed with security cameras. These cameras, I strongly believe that they will deter crime and create a safe environment for the staff and the pardon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You got a great councilman that helps out there and his staff. Appreciate that, Mr. Fuentes. Sean Murphy.
Yes, I was at the MTA board meeting on Thursday. They want to raise the bus fares. It's not going to happen, MTA. It will not happen. They're going to hold a hearing March 29th. It's a Saturday. My vote will be no. They keep raising the fares. Nobody's going to ride the darn buses. I'm sorry, Mr. Bonin, but when you serve on the MTA, they don't do the right things. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you right now, I will not be at the meeting. My girlfriend will be at the meeting. We need to keep our streets cleaned, our sidewalks paved, and that's about it. And one more thing. I don't have any news on the St. Charles renovation. They're moving right along. Pray that we get it open by Easter. And yeah, have you noticed when you go to your local Catholic church, more women are becoming ushers? Wait till 20 years from now. There will be less men becoming ushers. Thank you.
Brian Barajas.
All right. Now I think I should just indicate a presidential problem. The fact that we don't have a president of the United States. Now, the Glass-Steagall Act, it's very simple. We get back to that. It's very simple. If we don't, we have a financial, not only that, we have a threat of thermonuclear World War III. That's a fact. Mr. Fuentes, would you like me to change your diapers?
Hey. Speak to the council, Brian, on issues.
All right.
Not like that.
All right, so this is the point, Mr. Assistant President, Mr. Tom LaBonge. Every time when I speak on a serious topic, people tend to lose faith in their country. It's horrible. We had water wars when Kennedy, his administration was the administration that put this country back on its feet. And we're struggling to gain that country back. It's horrible. So what are we going to do? We have water wars? This is insane. We need thermonuclear fusion, and nobody pushes for that. We have a future to build, and people want to. What do they want? What kind of a future do you want? Ask yourselves that question, because it comes down to the point of extinction.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. We have a shocking picture of the LAX shootout on our website. I don't think children should see the picture. It comes from the New York Post. It is incredible. Look, the FBI did an investigation of the LAX shootout. It's almost finished. The FBI, somebody leaked to the LA Times and to AP the story. The two officers that were assigned, Gannon is a liar, police chief, who were assigned to guard the TSA agent, abandoned their post. One was in the crapper, the other one was just hanging out, flirting with girls maybe. The reason we had a gunman running around at loose in the airport for 5 or 6 minutes is because of the airport police. We must disband the airport police and put the airport in charge solely of the LAPD. There is not, I want to say to the world, there is no city in the world where a gunman has run amok with a loaded gun through an airport. Not in Mogadishu, not in any country, not any place, Africa, Asia, only here, because we have a turf war between the two sets of cops. And I want to say to everybody, you are in danger when you come to LA. You are in danger of being shot because your guards may be taking a crap. Now, the FBI report is coming out. The LA Times wouldn't do the story. And come to the crack tower in my neighborhood. You want to buy heroin, you want to buy any kind of drug, come to Hollywood. And if you can't find the drug dealer, just ask the LAPD or someone wearing a uniform, where are the drug dealers? Because you can sell narcotics on Hollywood Boulevard anytime, anywhere. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Wayne Spindler.
So much anger today. All right. So we have a lot of interesting subjects today that have been talked about. But tonight, our president is going to be speaking to the country about a couple of things. One thing is, by executive order, he's going to raise the minimum wage on certain government contracts as, to quote Bill Clinton, sign of the pen, stroke of the pen, law of the land, kind of cool. So that's what we're going to have. Then he's also going to roll out an amnesty program. This is the perfect time for an amnesty. We're in the worst drought in 100 years. So we need to bring a lot more people to California when we don't already have enough water for the people here. Bring them on in. Now, we don't have to worry about the border. Everybody that's going to come in is already here. They've already got in. So what do we do with these poor people in L.A. and Fresno? I drove up the 5 freeway from Los Angeles to San Francisco, up the 5 freeway. It's dead land. All of the streams are dry. All the cattle are dying. They got nothing to eat. So what are we going to do with all these hardworking American citizens and permanent residents that paid their mortgages off and they're 40, 60 years old with no jobs? I say let American citizens sell their American citizenship to foreign investors. Give them $2 million for each citizenship. You sign it, you waive your citizenship, you get a check for $2 million tax-free, and you live happily ever after. That's amnesty.
Mr. Herman.
This is political speech. Political speech that's reckless, revengeful, very unfriendly, and fiendishly cruel. When you try to drive a public speaker away from a podium simply because he has his hands and knees, it's obvious that all we're trying to do is get the attention of this city and all you Angelenos that you cannot sacrifice political speech or enforce your unfair political speech to your special interests. It's all about special interests nowadays and the status quo. Stress inequalities for the opportunity for all citizens to let yourself discuss the importance of what's on our local issue, on the local agenda here in Los Angeles. And what about the lawsuit coming in Venice Beach because you still have not put a barrier in place to protect the citizens or the tourists coming in. You are not safe in Los Angeles. You are not safe at City Hall because there is so much invaluableness, injustice, that you threaten the public speaker from freedom of speech, from our very basic First Amendment rights. And who cares about Mr. Weezer and his sexual harassment this month in court? Nobody cares. But when Zuma Dog wins his federal case in court, it would only prove to all of you Angelenos that we, not gadflies, we public speakers are here to prove a point, that we got something going. And we need all your help. All you are public speakers, whether you're brown, black, or white. Because as you pointed out to me, Mr. President Pro, you said, I'm a racist.
Henry Marine.
Two minutes here, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 156, 2 minutes. How's it? Can you reset on this clock here?
Please continue your speaking.
Oh, thank you. Just like from the valley. We can hear you. Speak your heart out. Anyway, ongoing MOUs make it easier for the successors of Mr. Gil Garcetti to prove our city and union representatives ain't legally working. They've been sheltering our money since Tom Brady left office and ain't accounted for it yet. Any money sheltered from the pay of government employees by authority to hack the board and city council is a public debt. Any money invested in union banks and city banks by members of the city council is a public investment. And you ain't accounted for it yet. Now, how long you to go without counting for the money? You know, everybody's using leaves from work to try to cover up what they took from the trust in the first place. Adam and Eve, it didn't work for Adam and Eve, it ain't gonna work for you either. Now, I told you, y'all all got the same rights as Martin Ludlow. Account for the money you took. You can't go around proving that you can take money from public employees and don't account for it. So your time and is running short. I've been praying for the people who've been praying on me. Now y'all can go to hell if you don't.
Completes public comment at this time. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Mr. President, that council has motions for post and referral.
So ordered.
That clears the desk.
A couple of announcements. We have a very special senator in California who has done such a great job, one of the greatest in our history. And she has a very special deputy is here, Senator Dianne Feinstein's Percy Pinckney. Give Percy Pinckney a big hand right there. Mr. Pinckney, good to see you. Say hello to the senator. Thank her for the great job she does for the United States. Thank you so much, and for all of us here in California. Any other announcements, members? Announcements at this time? Members adjourning motions. All rise for adjourning motion. For our guests in the audience, please rise for adjourning motion. Mr. Bonnet.
Thank you. Colleagues, I ask today that we adjourn in memory of a legend, a musical and a political legend. Pete Seeger passed yesterday at the age of 94. He was surrounded by family and friends who were holding hands and singing as he passed. The guy was an absolute legend, an American icon. I remember some of the earliest songs I remember hearing and reciting was If I Had a Hammer, Michael Row Your Boat Ashore, As an activist in my younger days, Pete Seeger's songs were a constant at any place that I was at that was standing up for justice. He was a troubadour for equality and peace and for justice. He said that his music was a weapon and that it would envelop hate and make it diminish. I was very lucky to see him perform at a benefit for anti-apartheid organizations in the 1980s. He was absolutely phenomenal. He continued performing until just a few months ago. Well into his 90s, he performed at Farm Aid just a couple months ago, an American classic. May he rest in peace and walk forever in the sunlight of the Spirit.
And his music will last forever. And then the classic 2009 on President Obama's inauguration, there he stood singing on the steps and with Bruce Springsteen and his own son. And Turn, 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 and all the great songs of the 60s really made a difference. And all the children's songs that are there, we should all think and recite Pete Seeger. Very good, Mr. Bonin. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise and ask that we adjourn in memory of Sergio Bautista, born on September 10th, 1966, and after a 5-year-long battle with cancer, passed away on December 15th, 2013. He grew up and very much loved his community in Wilmington, California. He attended Fries Avenue Elementary School, Wilmington Middle School, and Phoenix Banning High School. His parents, Jose and Estela Bautista, along with his 6 siblings, all attended Holy Family Church. After high school, he joined the United States Marine Corps and served an honorable 4 years. He was a City of Los Angeles employee, worked for our Public Works Bureau of Sanitation for the past 15 years. He is survived by his wife, Bernice, 4 daughters, Vanessa, Alyssa, Ashley, and Julia, and grandson, Ethan. Sergio was buried December 26 at the Riverside Veteran Cemetery with full military honors. He's going to be missed in the City of Los Angeles family. Sergio Bautista, may he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, many of you remember a terrific day in Los Angeles in 2012 when the Space Shuttle Endeavour arrived at LAX. And I think many of you were there at that arrival ceremony and remember the moving and stirring music that accompanied the arrival of the Space Shuttle to LAX. The conductor and founder of the orchestra who performed that day was Maestro Aram Garabekyan, who sadly passed away at the much too premature age of 58. Maestro Garabekyan was a great contributor to the cultural landscape of Southern California, but much of the world as well. He graduated from the New England Conservatory in Boston, went on to study composition and conducting under Jacob Druckmann and Leonard Bernstein. He served as the music director of the National Chamber Orchestra of Armenia from 1997 until 2010. And toured with them around the world, including a 2001 North American debut at Lincoln Center. Maestro Garabekyan launched his own international music festival known as the Open Music Fest in 2009 in Yerevan, and then went on to form the Open Music Society Foundation and Orchestra, which performed, as I mentioned, at LAX, and I was proud that my office, along with Mr. Parks' office, was able to facilitate that performance. Maestro Garabekyan is the recipient of many prestigious awards, including a special proclamation by the United States Congress, Armenia's Presidential Medal of Honor, the ASCAP Award, Harvard Musical Association's Best Performance Award, and the Boston Globe's Best Performances of 1985, 1989, 1990, and 1991. Maestro Garabekyan is survived by his mother, sister, uncles, cousins, niece and nephew, many, many friends, and a legion of music fans worldwide, and he'll be laid to rest tomorrow in a state funeral in Yerevan. And may he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since we celebrate film and television, I wanted to note the passing of a couple memorable character actors. Russell Johnson passed away on January 16th, and he was best known as the professor on Gilligan's Island. He often appeared on TV shows in the 50s and 60s and also into science fiction movie classics, The Earth Island, and It Came from Outer Space. He also nobly served his nation during World War II in the U.S. Army and was on a B-24 Liberator when it was shot down during a bombing raid over the Philippines in 1945. He would later use his GI benefits to pay for acting lessons after the war. He's survived by his wife, Connie, their daughter, Kimberly, his stepson, Court, and a grandson. I'd also like to adjourn the memory of Dave Madden, who was a stalwart on the TV show The Partridge Family, playing the family's manager, Reuben Kincaid. He passed away also on January 16th, and he also made many guest appearances in later TV shows. He also nobly served his nation earlier as a member of the U.S. Air Force Special Forces, and he's survived by his second wife, Sandy Martin, and 2 kids with his first wife, Nina Arnold, who passed away in 1985.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parks.
Thank you. I'd have 2 adjourning motions. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Mary Elizabeth Green, who was born in September 1926 in St. Louis, Missouri, passed away October 2013. Mary attended school at Webster Grove, Missouri, where she graduated from Douglas High School. In 1946, at the National Youth Conference Convention of the Church of God in Christ is where she met her future husband, William Bill Green. It was under Bishop S.M. Crouch, Sr., that Mary became an evangelist missionary. She taught summer school and served the evangelist missionary Mother Gertie Houston as a member of the Women's Christian Jail Workers of Emmanuel. She went back to school, completed her junior college degree, and received a certificate as an LVN. She was employed at the County General Hospital until she retired after 25 years. In 1988, she became a member of the West Angeles Church of God in Christ under the leadership of Bishop Blake until she passed away. She's survived by her daughter, Joanne, her 3 sons, William, Hubert, and Dallin. Also, I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Fred Monroe, who was born in April 1936 in Rome, Georgia, and passed away December 2013. Fred was the youngest of 7 children born to Edward and Ann Hudson. He also had 4 of his siblings preceded him in death. Fred obtained his early education at Floyd County School System in Rome, Georgia. He loved sports and played in high school football. In 1955, Fred relocated to New York, where he attended Barber College and photography school. Upon graduation, he opened up his own businesses. He moved to Los Angeles in 1962, and in 1966, he opened Fred's Utopia Barbershop. He served the community for 47 years as owner-operator of that shop, and he will always be remembered as a people's person. He was united in matrimony with Nina Artisan in August 1968 and remained a devoted husband until he passed. In 1975, Fred and Nina started a catering business, Hudson & Hudson. They operated that business part-time until 2007. In the mid-60s, Fred became a Masonic brother and served as the master of the St. Elmo Lodge in 1974. He later became the brother of the Friendly Lodge 19, where he served as a treasurer. In 1982, Fred joined the Greater Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church and remained a member until he passed. Fred is survived by his wife of 45 years, Nina, and daughters Margaret, Kyla, and a host of family members.
Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise to adjourn in the memory of Ella Mae Ernest, who passed away this morning at the age of 82. She was the mother of my Chief of Staff, Curtis Ernest. Known as Mama Ernest by most, Ella Mae Ernest was born August 23, 1931, in the small town of Soso, Mississippi. In search of a better life for her children and escaping the Jim Crow laws of the South, Ella Mae moved her family to the Watts community, where she would become a local educator and community activist. A generous spirit who never failed to reach out to those in need, Ella Mae Ernest was known to take in homeless teens from the community who had nowhere to go. She was also a librarian at the Graham Street Elementary School in Watts for 30 years, where she was also an active member of her union, SEIU Local 99. She was an active member of her church, Sweet Home Baptist in Watts, where she also taught Sunday school. And she was a longtime den mother for her local Boy Scout troop, number 383. She will be greatly missed by her friends and family and is survived by 3 daughters, Patricia Cross, Sheila Winston, and Sherry Ernest, and her son Curtis Ernest. Please keep her and her family in your prayers.
Thank you very much, members. That completes our agenda today. We thank the public for being here today, and remember those who went before us, those who just passed, continue to serve the city well. This meeting is adjourned.